Good morning, everybody, and welcome to class for Monday, October 4th. Please forgive the noise. I'm sure you can probably hear it, but right outside the window, they're doing some really loud construction, and there's really nothing I can do about it. So I'm just going to try to, speak clearly and try to be very straightforward about what is due in the next couple of days. And hopefully for our Wednesday's class, we won't be interrupted by this noise. We can only hope. I am not sure. So this is the what we're going to be doing for today. I have two things that I'm going to be going over. One of them is the next discussion board post, which is due on Tuesday, tomorrow before midnight. And there are some readings, 4 articles that are connected with that post that you're going to need to read beforehand. One of them you should have already read because it was the assignment for last Thursday. So that means there's 3 others that are posted and none of them are terribly long. So you shouldn't have any problem finishing the reading for this one, but you should get started on it today. Now, the other thing is I'm going to do a review of the exploratory essay and talk about how the readings that we're doing are connected to the exploratory essay, because everything in Unit 2 is building up to that big assignment. So I'm going to turn on screen sharing and we're going to go directly into our Blackboard. So here we're going to go into content from our home page. And we're going to Unit 2. Opening up the Unit 2 folder, we're going to scroll down and I will show you what's new since the last class. So what we have here, if we look at this collection of readings right here, right around the exploratory essay. Now, the first one here, you should have already read, COVID Misinformation Online, an article, kind of an overview of the problem of false information about the virus, giving people the wrong idea about treatments and vaccines, causing people to be afraid of going to the hospital, causing people to avoid getting vaccinated because somehow they've gotten the wrong information about it. So COVID Misinformation Online, the National Geographic article gives you a general overview of how information is spread online, both in a good way and in a bad way, and how some people are taking advantage of the confusion to spread misinformation. So that one you should have had read last week. Now, the exploratory essay assignment is sitting here. We're going to look at that last, but we're going to go down to pandemic masking and vaccine mandates. These are 3 articles that you need to read for the next discussion board post. The first one is from the Los Angeles Times, and it's about increasing rates of COVID among children and how that has caused the vaccine rate to go up a little bit. But it also goes into the problem of people who are resisting getting vaccinated. Then we have an article from NBC News down here, which is about the problem of vigilante treatments. They're calling these people vigilantes who online, they find information that is false about COVID treatments. So you've probably heard about people taking medicine for horses, right? Horse dewormers, ivermectin. And you may have heard about people doing, people taking hydrogen peroxide internally, which is very dangerous and toxic. So both of these things are growing problems, false treatments, and people actually poisoning themselves with false treatments rather than going to the doctor and actually getting tested and treated properly when they have COVID. The other article is from National Public Radio right here about violence caused by, I'm just going to click on that one briefly. You can take a look at it. And this is about, sorry, this is from Associated Press, not National Public Radio, Associated Press. So our sources are National Geographic, the Los Angeles Times, National Public Radio, and Associated Press for these. So Associated Press, this article here describes increasing violence among people who are protesting vaccine and mask requirements. So you may have heard that some of these protests are getting more and more dangerous as people are starting to target people like teachers and healthcare workers in these anti-vaccination and anti-mask protests. So we've got a lot of social conflict that's exploding around the pandemic and the measures that we need to take to bring down the caseload and control it. So what we're looking at is the relationship between our information technology and these social conflicts. That's what the theme of Unit 2 is about. So think about social media, information being shared online, and the relationship between that and confusion and disruption and sometimes even violence in society, right? So that's really that's the theme that we're developing. Now, that's also the theme that you are going to be looking at in the exploratory essays. Again, you can choose your topic, but the overall theme here is information technology and the effect of digital information technology on societal health. That's really the overall big theme. So far we've looked at two different aspects to this. And one of them is, we're looking at the online learning, right? We're looking at the how information for education is being shared online much more, how we're doing more on Zoom, we're doing more distance learning classes online, how that's affecting society, how it might be affecting our stress levels, spending all this time online. And now we're kind of moving into information technology and its relationship to the pandemic directly, right? So that's what we're looking at in this second part of Unit 2. The discussion board post, you have a notice about the discussion board post right here underneath our articles. So once again, the articles you need to read before submitting that discussion board post are COVID misinformation online and the pandemic, masking, and vaccine mandates. If we count them, it's 4 articles altogether. This one that we should have read last week, right? National Geographic. And then these 3, the one from the LA Times, the one from Associated Press, and the one from National Public Radio. Okay, so let's go to discussions and see what's asked of us in that discussion board post. So climbing up to discussions. Opening up the discussion board post, we can see right here, the Unit 2 Forum 1, COVID misinformation online. So you can see the due date here, post and response due Tuesday, October 5th before midnight. The discussion board post asks you to write 3 paragraphs linking information from the 4 articles in the Unit 2 folder. Gibbons from the National Geographic, Collins from the NBC, Kelleher, Tang, and Rodriguez from the Associated Press, and Healy from the LA Times. So the question here is, and there are several, what are some of the reasons there's so much confusion in the public about COVID misinformation? In the NBC story, it describes how increasing numbers of people are confronting medical staff in hospitals in a hostile way, right? Actually threatening medical staff who are trying to treat COVID patients. What's going on here? Where did these people get the information that medical staff are actually hurting their loved ones? Then we've also got the Associated Press article. What's the connection between increasing cases of COVID in children this year and increasingly hostile and violent protests around school mask mandates? And then finally, it asks you to consider your own experience. Have you heard any COVID misinformation from other people or seen any COVID misinformation online? Have you come across COVID conspiracy theories, or do you know anybody who's refusing to get vaccinated because they believe any of these? What role do you think the internet plays in creating confusion around COVID? And also think about, honestly, how people struggle with trying to tell the truth from fiction online about COVID. And we want to be aware that even people who don't really know what's going on in terms of being able to tell what's real from what's not real online, they may have really good reasons for their confusion. And I want you to think about it when you think about the way information is organized online. Think about the role of Facebook, the role of Twitter, of other social media. So we're try to put a big picture together here. So that's the goal for this discussion board post. I hope we get a good discussion out of it. Now we're looking here also at switching gears here, the exploratory essay. So this is the big event of the Unit 2 collection. Everything's geared and moving towards this exploratory essay assignment. Now, since the last time we opened this up, there has been a change. And this is that the topic proposal is now due October 13th. You may have marked it already as being due October 10th, but that was a bit of a typo because I had not realized at the time that I set up that due date that it's a holiday weekend, right? So again, the second weekend in October is, we have that Monday off. So I don't, as a policy, make assignments due during holidays. So it's now due October 13th, that's a Wednesday. The topic proposal will be due that day before midnight. October 20th, the outline and the first draft are due, and November 11th, the final draft. So you will have an opportunity for my feedback between the topic proposal and the first draft, and between the first draft and the final draft. So there should be lots of interchange, you know, chances to correct things, chances to revise. All of that is good. Now the guidelines here, you will need 2 in-class sources. So the articles that we're reading this week, the articles we read last week, all of them are forming a pool of potential sources that you can use in your essay. So in addition to working with them in discussion board posts and working with them in writing exercises, you will also be using them as sources in your essay, okay? So you'll get very familiar with these articles. So start to think now about which topics and subjects and questions raised in the articles are most interesting to you, because you should be thinking now about the topic of your exploratory essay. What do you want to write about? All right, so so start thinking about that. So really none of these articles are just being assigned for no good reason, right? They're all, so if you're reading an article, if you have a reading assignment in the class, please know that that's going to become the subject of a discussion board post. It's going to become the subject of an exercise, and you may possibly use it as a source, right? So nothing goes to waste in this class. So remember also that you are going to need a works cited page. I'm going to show you a model for that. and we're going to be using APA citation style, and it's only in-class sources for this assignment. Now, you do, however, I've got a little bit of flexibility there. You have the option of choosing an additional source in addition to the 2 in-class sources, which would mean you would have 3 sources altogether, but you have to have that approved by me in advance by listing it on your topic proposal due October 13th. So that's another change. I mean, I began to think about the value of, you know, finding your own sources, and you may as well get started on it now because we're going to be asked to do that in our research paper. Okay, so please think about it if you're interested, but you do need to have that source approved. I need to approve the source in advance, so you need to have decided on it by the time the topic proposal is due October 13th. Okay, and if I say, yes, that's a great source, go for it. You know, just be aware that the type of information sources that I've been using for the in-class sources, those are the types of information sources that I'm going to approve, right? In other words, established news outlets that are not overly biased and that are fact-checked. So pretty much the gold standard for information that you can trust is for academic research, peer review, and for journalism, fact checking, right? So they need to have fact checkers on staff, and they need to have an editorial board that's responsible for that fact checking, okay? So in other words, something like the New York Times, if they make a mistake, if their fact checkers screw up on something, they have to literally print a retraction as soon as they find out, right? And then if it's online, they need to edit it to take out the mistake. They're responsible, right? So it has to be a journalistic source that's got fact checking. We'll talk about that more as we go, but start thinking about it now, and you know, open up the exploratory essay assignment if you haven't yet looked at it. And if you haven't looked at it since a week ago, look at the changes that have been made to it. I just went over the 2 of them, you know, so shouldn't be any big surprises there. Now, we do have another exercise that's posted here, citations exercise 2, but I'm going to talk about that in the next class. You can go ahead and take a sneak peek at it if you like. It also uses the articles that are assigned up here, okay? But we'll talk about that in the next class. So I'm going to get out of the screen sharing mode. And that's it for today. Again, I apologize for the construction noise out there. For some reason, they like to do it in the morning. They're literally right outside the window. It's kind of unnerving. So I will talk to you all on Wednesday, and good luck on that discussion board assignment. Email me if you have any questions. Thanks a lot.